Afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us. Um, so for those of you who don't know me, my name is Elizabeth, and I'm one of the members of Seagull Travel and Tours. So I'm excited to be here today and to chat to you about what we have to offer. So just a little bit of a short introduction for those of you who do not know Seagull. We've been in business for 40 years. Um, we specialize in small group tours, which we obviously curate with a discerning clientele in mind. So that would be all of you. And I really do believe that what we offer is on par with some of the best. So, I'm excited to share about the Balkans tour with you. And if you're going to give me a few minutes or just a few seconds, actually, then I'll like to share a PowerPoint presentation with you and I'll talk you through it. Here we go. Sorry, I'm just on the wrong slide. Okay, that took me a while. I'm sorry about that. Okay, so let's start off with where are the Balkans, why we're going to be doing the Balkans, and let's just chat a little bit about that. So, for those of you who don't know, the Balkans is a region in southeastern Europe. The name actually comes from the Balkan Mountains, which are in Bulgaria, and the region of the Balkans includes Croatia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Serbia, Kosovo, Albania, Montenegro, and North Macedonia. So, as I said, the name comes from the mountains, and the Balkan area then is also known for its mountains, its diverse culture, and then, of course, famously, its layered history. The area was the area's history was shaped by the Romans, by the Byzantine, by the Ottoman, and by the Habsburg Empire. So it's quite a rich and layered history, especially because there was also later the formation and then eventually the breakup of Yugoslavia. Currently, these countries all have democratic governments, and it's a peaceful region today. And there's quite a lot of contrast between Western and Eastern tradition. Also, I think that war has taught the inhabitants of this region to live peacefully, and there's been quite a lot of development in terms of commerce, culture, and human rights. So that's just a little bit about this area. And then I'd love to share an overview of what we're going to be doing on the tour with you. So obviously this is not the entire itinerary that I'm going to be sharing with you, but just some highlights. So if you've not been in Zagreb before, Zagreb is a fantastic city. It's really cosmopolitan. It's easy to navigate and one of my favorites. And then we're also going to be going to the Plitvice Lakes. Now, this is absolutely wonderful. And if you cannot walk the lakes, then there is a viewpoint where you can sit and wait for the rest of the group. But there's enough time for you to start walking a little bit each day so that you can actually do this walk with the rest of the group. Of course, as you can see below, Plitvice is also a UNESCO heritage site. Then we go to Split. Split is obviously famous for the Diocletian palaces, and it's got a stunning atmosphere. I love the cafes on the side of the harbor. Sarajevo, we'll be heading there as well. And then, so what I'd like to just say, Sarajevo, obviously, is in Bosnia and Herzegovina. And although this city is famous for the longest siege in modern times. It's famous for the assassination of the Austrian Archduke and his wife Sophie. And that obviously then triggered the First World War. So although there's quite a rich history, it's still a vibrant place with beautiful people. And then we go from there, we go to Mostar, also in Bosnia and Herzegovina. And then we visit Kosovo. Okay. So the monastery was an absolute hit with our groups before, and I'm sure it will be with you as well. And from there, sorry, we move on to Serbia. So in Serbia, we visit Belgrade, which is obviously known for its rich past, but also I think not many people know that it's got quite an energy about it. And yeah, I think it's a bit of an underrated city. Okay, and then on to Albania. Actually, it was quite interesting. I was on an airplane coming back from Uzbekistan, and I read an article to say that Albania is one of the hidden gems that's going to be developing as a coastal destination very, very soon, on par with Greece and Croatia, etc. So I think one should go to Albania while you still can, um, and before it becomes really, really popular. And then we visit North Macedonia, Montenegro, and we finish off across the waters in Dubrovnik. Okay, so that's just a brief overview of what we do on the tour. If you haven't got the itinerary yet, then please just send us a message in the chat, and my team will make sure that they send that on to you so that you can actually get more information about what it is that we're actually going to be doing. Okay. I thought that while we're here, we can just pause a little bit and I can talk about the highlights of the tour. What's really important to note is that this tour is a blend of history, of nature, of food, and of culture. So it's not a one-sided tour, and I think it offers something for everyone. As I said earlier, right at the start, we're going to be traveling in a small group. There's going to be a dedicated tour leader who has done this tour before and a fantastic guide. We love working with Danko. He is such a wealth of information, but also just such a friendly, charming guy. So we're going to be traveling with Danko, and as I said, Corey has done this tour before, so it's really a great team that you'll be traveling with. There's a variety of experiences. So if you haven't seen the itinerary yet, what's so nice about it is that we're going to be doing truffle tastings, there's wine experiences, there's loads of historic city walks, the monastery visit, and then there is also some downtime to explore. And Danko will tell you this is a good place to go, or this is maybe a nice area to go shopping. So that's really nice, that during these 17 days of traveling, you will have downtime. There's a balance of activity and it's not a one-sided tour. And then accommodation, we really, at Seagull, we always believe that you have to stay comfortable and you have to eat well. And so the same can be said on this tour. The accommodation is well located, four-star hotels. So that's just a little bit of an extra insight into the tour and why I think it's such a winner. Okay. And then in terms of tour information, as I said, the tour is 17 days. Now that does include the flight days. We depart from South Africa on the 19th of September and we get back on the 7th. We did talk about Plitvice and the walking. So maybe it's important that you know that there is some walking on cobblestones and there will be some stairs or inclines in the historic towns. So if you're interested in going, please start walking now, a little bit each day, and make sure that you can walk about 30 minutes at a time, unaided. Okay. At our accommodation, obviously our breakfasts are included, and on the itinerary, you'll be able to see which lunches and dinners are not included. We try not to include every single lunch, well, definitely not every lunch and dinner, but we also try not to have all lunches and dinners included so that you can have some free time in the evenings, for instance, to go and do your own thing, or maybe over lunch you decide that you don't want to have lunch, you're going to walk and have an ice cream because you want to do some shopping or take photos. Maybe just sit and read a book or make some notes in your journal. Okay. I've mentioned before that Danko is going to be the guide. He really is a fantastic person and he speaks beautiful English. Um, then there's just a little bit of a guideline on what the average cost is of a cup of coffee or a glass of wine or dinner. So if you look at the dinner value there, you can also see what value we add to the tour. Okay. Very important question for South Africans. Yes, you will need a Schengen visa if you do not have a valid Schengen visa. We're going to be applying for that through the Croatians, and your passport needs to be valid for 6 months after the return. So after the 7th of October, count 6 months on, your passport has to be valid until sometime in 2026, and you need to have at least 2 empty pages in your passport. Right, and I've already mentioned the hotels, so we don't need to really go through that as well. Okay. And then just in terms of the cost, the land arrangements, that amount is per person sharing. So if you've got someone who's going to share the room with you, then it's 4,471 euro, or based on last week's rate of exchange, about 94,000 rand per person. And then your single supplement, so if you're not going to share with someone, you pay an additional 1,075 euro to have a room to yourself. Unfortunately, that's not something that we determine, that's determined by the hotels. Okay, and then in terms of airfare, including taxes, we're looking at about 27,500 rand. So if you want to make the sum, depending on whether you're going to be sharing a room or not, just add those amounts together. Again, these are estimated rand amounts and they're based on rate of exchange. So I can't guarantee the rand amounts until we invoice, unfortunately. Okay. Right, I'm going to stop sharing now, and then I'd love to answer any questions that anyone might have. Yeah, give me 2 seconds to just stop sharing, put my video back on. Right. I don't know if anyone has a question. Remember that you are muted, so if you want to ask a question, please unmute yourself, or you can pop a question in the chat.
Kan jy my hoor?
Ek kan. Hallo Amanda.
Hi, hoe gaan dit?
Goed en jy?
Nee, goed, ek het nie gedink ek gaan so vinnig weer op 'n seagull toer klim nie.
Ek is baie bly.
Hoorie so, ek wil net by jou hoor.
Yes.
Ek gaan mos voor dit nou Griekeland en Malta toe en dan gaan ek julle kry in Istanbul.
Ja,
So kan ek dan nou maar net met 'n Schengen want ek gaan nou Griekeland in,
ja.
Griekse Schengen alles doen.
Ons moet net seker maak, Amanda, van die hoeveelheid dae wat jy in Griekeland gaan wees. So ek dink die beste gaan wees as jy net vir my 'n breakdown stuur van hoeveel dae jy oral is, en eintlik kan jy dit vir Petra ook stuur. Dankie Benet, dankie dat jy hier was. So jy kan net vir ons sê hoeveel dae jy in Griekeland gaan wees ensovoorts, en dan kan ons stel en net seker maak dat jy die regte kanale aansoek doen, want anders gaan hulle hom uitgooi.
Okay.
Ja.
Alright, so sodra ek al hulle goedjies gekry het, gaan ek dit net aanstuur vir Elsabie of ek dink dit wie
Ek dink is
werk met dit
Petra. Petra is die
Petra, ja.
konsultant. Ja. So die belangrikste ding is net op ons toer is ons die langste in Kroasie, en dis hoekom ons deur Kroasie aansoek doen. Maar as jy langer in Griekeland gaan wees of dieselfde hoeveelheid dae in Griekeland gaan wees as in Kroasie, dan kan ons vir jou Ekskuus, ek het nou my boodskap met 'n ander boodskap, my oog het 'n ander boodskap gevang en dit ek nou ophou dink wat ek sê, maar so dit hang af van die hoeveelheid dae waar jy die langste is. As jy langer in Griekeland gaan wees, dan Griekeland. As jy langer in Kroasie gaan wees, dan Kroasie. En as jy dieselfde hoeveelheid tyd is, dan gaan ons dit deur Griekeland doen, dan sit country of first entry.
Okay, nee goed, ek dink dit gaan dan ek sal dan 'n Kroasie een ook moet kry.
Okay. Dan doen ons dit net deur
Okay.
Kroasie. So kry net daai inligting vir ons, dan besluit ons.
Okay.
Okay.
Ek sal dit dan vir Petra aanstuur.
Dankie. Okay, then I see there's a question about flights. So I'd love to answer that. At the moment, what you're looking at is an individual flight. So there might be a special at the moment, or maybe the availability is just really good. What we quote on is on a group flight. So we negotiate the rates with the airline in advance. They actually keep the seats for us, and we pay a deposit to them to keep the seats for us. And then they also keep the rate for us. And why this is important is number one, we've got seats, so it won't become an issue later on, and we pay for that privilege. And number two, if something happens on a tour and you're part of a group flight, let's say the flight is delayed and we miss our connecting flight and it's all on one ticket, they cannot split the group because it's a group booking. That means the entire group has to be accommodated on the next flight and the entire group's itinerary is adjusted. If everyone is on their own individual flight and something like that happens, then they can split the group into different parts and it becomes chaotic to try and salvage the situation if, one person arrives with Lufthansa and the other one arrives with Turkish and the other one arrives with KLM. So, yes, unfortunately, you pay for the privilege of having a group flight. Again, that is an estimate, so it can change based on the um, rate of exchange and the airport taxes. But I hope that answers your question. Of course, you're welcome to buy your own flight if you wanted to, but then you wouldn't be part of the group, and the risk of anything happening would be, in terms of changes and not being with the group would be on you. Okay, don't know if that helped at all. I hope so. Is there anyone else who's got a question? Anzet, het jy dalk 'n vraag? Ek het jou gemute, laat ek jou unmute. O, jy gaan my eers met toestemming gee. Dis hy. Het jy 'n vraag, Anzet?
Geen vraag op die oomblik nie,
Okay.
dankie.
Okay, 100%. Anyone else? All right. Well, if not, wanneer sal ons weet of die toer wel sal voortgaan? Ons sal binne 'n maand vir julle kan sê. Nee. Right, I'm going to just talk a little bit about some of the other questions we've had so far. Ek weet nie, ek dink almal hier is nou eintlik Afrikaans, so dan kan ek seker maar in Afrikaans aangaan. So een van die vrae was oor die weer in September. So September is laat somer, dit gaan koeler aande wees. Daar mag se hier en daar 'n bietjie reën wees. So die geheim is dan nou altyd lagies op lagies aantrek. 'n Ligte reënjas of 'n sambreel. Ek verkies 'n reënjas bo 'n sambreel want ek wil my hande kan loshou, maar dis elke ou se eie keuse. Ja, natuurlik ook gemaklike stapskoene. Is daar tyd om op jou eie iets te doen? Ja, ek dink ek het dit ook vroeër genoem en dankie die gids en Corrie sal vir jou 'n paar hints kan gee daaroor. Ja, so dit is 'n paar van die vrae wat ek al gehad het. Ja, kan jy nou aan nog iets dink nie? Weet nie of iemand anders dalk nog 'n vraag het vir my nie. Okay. So wat ek gaan doen as jy nog 'n bietjie wil bly en vir my 'n vraag wil vra, is dit 100%. Anders is jy welkom om vir ons net 'n e-pos te stuur. Jy kan dit of na Petra toe stuur. Ek gaan haar e-posadres gou hier onder vir julle intik. Okay, so Petra is die konsultant wat met die toer werk en ek het haar e-posadres daar ingesit vir julle. So julle is welkom om vir haar e-pos te stuur as julle enigstens nog vrae het. Anders kan julle die kantoor bel en met my gesels of met Petra gesels. Ja, ons help graag. Okay. Okay. As niemand anders dan nog vra, Amanda, het jy 'n vraag?
Nee, ek sê net thank you en ek hoop die
Okay.
toer gaan want ek kom eers terug weer wanneer die toer van julle terugkom 17 dae later as my Griekse toer.
Ek is
So
regtig redelik oortuig dat hy gaan. So ek dink nie dis iets waaroor jy hoef bekommerd te wees nie.
nee, dan is ek reg. Dan het ek
Ja.
niks anders vra.
Okay.
Okay. Goed gaan met jou.
100%. Baie Amanda, groete
Okay,
daar.
bye. Bye.
Okay. As niemand anders vra het nie, dan gaan ek nou haltroep hier. En julle het die e-posadres, so julle is welkom om vir ons e-posse te stuur. En ja, dit was lekker om met julle te gesels.
Baie dankie.
Dankie Anset. Mooi bly.
Thanks a lot.